human species is rapidly becoming endangered. Only a handful of us left in the wild. The survival movement camp is designed to recover the pragmatic knowledge of our ancestors so that we may one day return to the Great Mother. This is our choice. This is the survival movement camp.
One of the things I like to say is we don't have the Great War or the Great Depression. What we have nowadays is the Great Disconnect. That we're disconnected from our nature, of both ourselves and what we're supposed to be in. So all this sort of stuff out here, this nature, it's how human beings are supposed to live and be, but we separate ourselves from it, and we continue to separate ourselves from it more and more. Not only does that have some weird effects on the body, but it has some pretty crazy effects on our mind as well. We can't quite deal with it, and we disconnect with ourselves internally. So coming out here and experiencing nature and being part of it is helping heal those two sides together again, and get people to understand that nature is not something that's dirty and outside and that we're separate from, and we can go and experience it every now and then. Nature is us, and we are nature. And the more we can be out here, the more comfortable we can be with that, and the more comfortable we can be with ourselves in that sense.
This you can be sure. True friends won't let you get into trouble. They support you going well. They don't get jealous at your wins, and your secrets they won't tell. Yeah, your secrets they won't tell. Now I'm no angel, but at least I have a go. If you sit there just doing nothing, then success you will never know. Yes, success you will never know.
A lot of people eating meat in our world right now, and they have absolutely no idea what it takes to get that meat. It is tough, and it's tough for a reason. The emotional toll of taking an animal's life, so maybe you've shot it, you have to go over there and actually finish its life right then and there by slitting its throat. Skinning that animal, butchering it, carrying it home. It's quite traumatic, and it makes you really, really respect the meat that you actually eat. So when you eat that animal, you have a respect beyond anything I could even begin to describe if you haven't done it before. It's also physically fucking hard. It's really hard. The amount of times I've gone out and stalked things and been out for hours on end and taken 1 or 2 shots and missed and gone home hungry, is probably 8 times out of 10 I've done that.
And if you were to follow me on a survival mission, you'd find all tiny little fires everywhere, because I've cooked 5 or 10 crickets at a time. I might have cooked a little snake, a couple of yabbies, and I might have had 15 or 20 tiny little fires where I've cooked and had my feed that day.
And that was coming in the morning. So that might be a sign that you could go over there and you might find a snake or a wallaby or a mob ruse or something like that. They're actually leading you onto something. Or it could be that they've discovered you and they're warning everyone else about you. So yeah, and that's more likely.
It's not as exciting as an episode of Man vs Wild where you're jumping off mountains into piranha-infested waters and coming out with a snake in your teeth. But you're pretty much conserving your energy and just building up your protein as much as you can in your body, building up your stores of nuts and grains and wild honey, which is pretty exciting, and just conserving your energy and building up your supplies.
But what does a rabbit do? What does a rabbit look like when it takes off? Around the place. Kangaroo. Shoot through. Birds on the wing. Flying through. These things are energetic, and mostly so if they're being hunted by something. Think about how energetic they are then. They're taking off, they're really moving. To take some of that and put it within you, I think is a big thing, and it's something that we kind of disregard. We want to make our lives easier, so we just pen in these animals and make them docile so that we can farm.
Okay, so you get it, push one side forward till you get that tube. This is really important that you get this original one tight, because you're going to come back later and that's where you're going to feed your fishing hook through. If it was a bit thinner, it's also where it's going to hold on so you can lock it on. So the quickest way from this point on, so you've got your little loop, is to, in the mouth, keep that tube. You've got to keep that tube going. and then right over left. You get your other bit, divide that in half as well. Just place it across you. You've left yourself a bit of length there. Place it across there, and simply spin it in. This way you can make 100 metres of fishing line.
I had an experience where I was kicking around through the bush. I wasn't hunting it at the time, I was just walking around, and I just stopped and everything kind of went silent, and it felt very, very cold at that point. I was on an animal trail at the time, and so I just pulled up and stopped, and this big snake just went flying across the trail, and it would have been exactly where I was when I was walking along. It was odd because I was like, well, why is it cold all of a sudden? And the snake went through, and I was like, that was very odd. There is, I'm not saying it was some sort of spirit or something of the land telling me, but it was odd, I'll put it that way.
What you can do in a survival situation is you get the 5-fingered water vine. Again, that's the leaf and that's the fruit. It's a type of native grape. You cut the big ones into sections about that long and about that thick, and just hang them upside down with your glass or your cup or your mouth underneath it, and you probably get about as much water that's in that bottle out of about 6 feet of vine. So it's a pretty good yield. And I don't know if this makes sense, but the couple of times I've done it, the water's been really light. Does that make sense to anyone? It seemed to be lighter than normal water, and it tastes pretty amazing.
How I like to describe it is when I'm heading out and I enter into this game, and I'm on the trail, I start to think what the animal's doing, where it's going, what it would be thinking, how it's going to act. And the more time you spend out in nature, the better you get at this. Anyone see that?
Species have specific play patterns because those play patterns inform something important for that species. They develop something important for that species. But it's even more than that, because play doesn't just build a capacity that you can use in a utility way. It builds the capacity to be adaptive. It builds the capacity to be creative and to foster mental well-being. We had a great, we were just working with Jake Kazar. He's a wilderness survival guide, and he's talking about the importance of morale when you're trying in a survival situation. You need to feel good, and that's going to help you deal with challenges. And play fills this role for animals and for human beings.
Basic idea behind all of these movements is we're moving using our breath, and it gets to a point where even warm-up is not necessary because you're so in sync with your body, and there's such a little likelihood of injury, because as soon as your breath goes, you won't be able to do the movement. So the breath is like a primary indicator of how far you can take your body.
I really started to find what it was that movement meant to me. It's the survival paradigm that, on a very real sense, how well I moved was how well I was going to survive.
So a signal that a tree is safe or not safe is, okay, how far out on the lever on it? Is there pre-existing damage? Is there rot? Is the tree branch discolored? So if everything's one color and that it's a different color, that's a signal that it's not safe. Does it not have foliage when everything else has foliage? So this tree has a little bit of foliage up there, but it's got a lot of limbs that don't have any foliage on them, whereas all the trees around it, which are also wattles, have foliage. So that's a signal that this tree is sick, it's dying.
Our survival, when we talk about the end of the world, we talk about the end of the world for humans a lot of the time, and I really hope to push people into loving nature so much and reactivating, because we're already connected to nature, reactivating our strong relationship with nature to a point where people are willing to fight to protect it and act as custodians of the land, all of us, not just consumers. Thank you.
What I think is profound is that there are these inherent systems that are very rewarding for us. These play drives. So do them. Stop listening to the signs that say don't run, jump, climb, roughhouse here, because what those things are saying is don't act like a human being, and that's your birthright, to act like a human being, so go do it.
As far as survival goes, I think a lot of people walk around with a lot of fear in their lives that they can't survive. They can't survive without money. they don't have money to buy food or, you know, access water or have shelter, they know that they will die. So hopefully people can come out here, they can learn a few skills, they can start to understand that, okay, if everything does go really, really wrong, I at least know how to find some food. I know how to build a shelter, you know, I know what herbs I can eat. I know how I could move to avoid a predator or to catch an animal. You know, and that goes into alleviating some of that background fear of people, and hopefully changing the way they view and think about the world as a whole.
Nothing can stop a sovereign human being from walking their walk and singing their songs. Oh, grandfather, we hear our songs. Will you feel the song? Will you feel the love? Oh, grandmother, will you hold us so strong? The heavens above, they sing in our blood. They sing in our blood.
Twisted Steel, the MC with all the skills. Drop the mic and walk out.